It is 6 o'clock, and we are starting a new lesson on the reading passages. This is reading lesson one. Um, First of all, we're going to talk about the major change to the new SAT. All the questions are now passage based, meaning that there are no more sentence completion questions to worry about. The type of subjects each passage covers are the same in all tests. So the new critical reading section will consist of one passage dealing with U.S. and world history, two passages dealing with history and social studies, and two passages dealing with the science. For the science passages, there are data interpretation questions you'll have to analyze, charts, and graphs, and this is similar to the ACT science passages. So we're going to go ahead and look at some general approaches to the reading passage. First of all, you want to skim over the questions and plot them accordingly next to the line of the passage. These questions will specify where you can find them in the passage. And plotting these questions will allow you to focus your attention to portion the passages where you can find important information for answering questions. And you also want to underline any vocab that is mentioned in the question. So for example, we're going to look at the College Board released SAT Practice Test 1 of the new SAT. And this is the reading section. It's keep in mind it's 65 minutes for 52 questions. We'll talk about that later. And here's the first passage. So the first rule we try to follow would be to look at all the questions, just skim them and see if they have any line directed questions. And in this case, number 3 would be one question. As used in line 1 and line 65 directly most nearly means. So you would go to line 1 and 65, plot those questions, and it specifies the word directly, so you would circle that. Then you go to line 60, it asks for this directly again, so circle that. And you do this for each question that has a line specified in the question. Alright, next. Reading over the passage carefully, underline key information that helps you understand the passage's tone and main idea. Box proper nouns, dates, and time indicators. So make sure when you go to the reading passage, you should always start reading this mini excerpt at the top, context of the question. And by reading through and underlining key information, you can get the main idea and be able to answer questions that ask about the main idea. As you come across plotted questions, read 2 sentences above and below the plotted area and then answer the related question. So let's say for number 3, we go to line 65. We don't want to only read the sentence saying I asked directly because of right here. We actually want to read a little bit above, starting maybe here and all the way down to probably to the end of the paragraph, so we can gain the general context of the question to answer to find exactly what directly most nearly means. So once you finish reading the passage, begin answering questions that you are not able to answer on the first run through the passage. Save main idea questions for last. So after answering all the questions that are line directed, you should go back and see which ones you haven't answered and leave the main idea questions for last. And the main idea questions are usually the first question in the passage. As it says here, it asks for what happened in the passage, which basically asks for the main idea. Okay. Read through each answer choice for each question and underline 2 to 3 words for each choice that seems to sum up the general idea of the answer. Be on the lookout for things you can eliminate. Underline only what separates the answer choice from the other choices. Look for patterns within the answer choices and do not choose the answer choice that looks right, except for one word. It is most likely wrong. Half right is all wrong. So when we go through the answer choices, you want to underline keywords such as argues, character intrudes on her home, and this one would be such as like receiving, surprising request, another character. And as I said before in the tip, as long as one word is in the answer choice is incorrect and the whole question answer choice is incorrect, you can go ahead and cross out the letter. Okay. Any tone shifts within the passage will be reflected by the first and last sentence paragraph. If you are confused at any, if you're confused about any tone shifts that occur within the passage, referring back to the first and last sentence or even the first and last paragraph can help you regain your bearing. So if you're having trouble with tone shift questions, I'd advise you to read the first and last paragraph to understand what's exactly happening because that's usually when the author gives his or her thesis, so you can gain the idea of the passage. Number 7, try to pace yourself through the CT. The entire reading section, like I said, is, let's see here, 65 minutes and 52 questions, meaning that you have about 1.25 minutes for each question. So make sure your timing is right in practice. Here we go. Question and answering tips. So when you get to a passage, you want to read the entirety of each answer choice. Answer choices must be 100% correct to be the right answer. Even if it's half true, the rest isn't, it is still incorrect. So like I said, if one word is incorrect in the answer choice, then the whole answer choice is incorrect. Look for words and answer choices that make it much more likely to be incorrect. These include absolute language, extreme language, and intensifying language. So if you happen to see any of these words here, for example, these are just examples. You can find more of these words online. Then the answer choice is most likely incorrect because they're extreme, and the SAT usually doesn't like to teach or like to have answer choices that have such harsh or definite language. So watch out for correct information that doesn't answer that particular question. Make sure the answer choice only pertains to the section of the passage that the question specifies. Correct answer choices that address the wrong section of the passage are wrong answer choices. So make sure, let's say they give you a question for, I don't know, line 60, okay? Make sure you read around line 60 and the answer choice isn't about like somewhere in line 50 because the answer choice should only be in context somewhere around that line given. So don't use any other part of the passage to answer a question that specifies somewhere specifically in the passage. Answer choices that match your opinion but don't answer the question are incorrect. So don't answer the questions with your opinion and answer based only on the text. Questions and their answers are often similar. Use these questions to answer the others. For example, if you see different questions with multiple choice answer choices mentioning the isolationist nature of wolves, then they are probably the right ones. So when you see a question and the answers are similar, then you should be able to tell if they're similar, then you should be able to cross them out together collectively. Because if you know one is wrong, the other is wrong, and that can help you with the process of elimination. Okay. When you come across something that makes an answer choice wrong, cross out the word or phrase, then cross out the letter of the answer choice. This helps you show your work and understand why you eliminated the answer. So like I said earlier, if we were to go to a question, if you want to underline key words in the answer choice, and if you find that one word makes it incorrect, you want to cross out that word and then cross out the letter so you know what exactly you did to eliminate that answer. Okay. If the question mentions one specific sentence, my bad. All right. If if the question mentions one specific sentence or word, look at the sentences surrounding, and if it's necessary. So you just want to look at the sentence and see if there are any surrounding sentences that make sense or not. If the question mentions multiple lines, read the entire passage or paragraph. So we'll look at that later in the practice test. If the question does not mention or specify any lines, leave it for last. In general, you can look at the introduction, topic, sentences and first or last paragraphs to get these. Answer choices will match the main idea or tone of a specific area. If you're stuck between two, the one that most closely matches what the passage says will be right. Be careful not to let what you know from the passage get mixed up with any prior knowledge. So again, don't use your opinion to answer main idea questions and base it solely on the text. And you should be able to look at the first or last paragraph to understand what you're looking for here. This is for main idea. Okay. So usually you can cross out a few answer choices and get two remaining answer choices. So when deciding between two answer choices, return to the passage and identify any words or phrases that the answer choice share with the passage. So the ones you usually eliminate are pretty simple, but when you get to the last two, you have to go back to the passage and see, like, probably it's one word that makes it wrong. So, yeah, okay. On a question for evidence from the passage, start on the same question and eliminate any answer choices or sections of the passage that do not support the first question. Use the remaining answer choices of the passage to answer the first question. So basically, when you read the second part of or basically when you go through the questions that are line-based, you should be able to get a quick summary of what the whole passage is about. And if you can't answer the main idea based on what you've already known, then you should go back and read the topic sentences and first last paragraphs to get the main idea. When answering main idea and tone questions, mark the tone of each answer choice. Answer choice will with tone that do not match the passage can be marked out. So marking tone would be either positive, negative, or neutral. And after reading the passage, you should be able to get the tone as positive, negative, or neutral. And each answer choice that asks for tone or main idea should match the tone of the passage. So you should be able to use process of elimination to get exactly what you want there. Okay. Vocab questions are not strictly from the passage, so when answering vocab questions on the new SAT, it is often helpful to read the surrounding sections of the passage to gain context. Here we have a vocab question. As using line 2, form listening really means. So you want to again read in context. So form is right here, but you probably would like to read the whole paragraph probably to see what form means in context, because it's not like the old SAT where you would have to just get a sentence and answer the vocab based on your knowledge of the vocab. In this case, it's more on context based. Okay. Special case, double long passages. So in the SAT, there is one long double passage, and we try to find that in this test. This one's okay. Let's see. And it would be here in this test. As you can see, it's marked passage 1 and passage 2. So we're going to look at a few tips on this. The approach to this is similar to that of other passages, but involves some special steps. So first of all, you're going to plot the questions in both questions. Also mark which passage each question deals with passage 1, passage 2, and both. For example, this one asks from lines 19 to 17, which is only related to passage 1, so you will mark a 1 here. Again, a 1 and a 1, because this is connected to that question. Line 19, that is again with passage 1. So you should have marked 1, 1, 1, representing passage 1 questions. 35 to 40, that is again passage 1. So then all these are passage 1, as you can see, and then passage 2 would be You'd mark a 2, 2, and it seems like these are all referring to both questions because the answer choices have 1 and 2. If they want to find a relationship between the passages, so we mark B, 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 B. So after you've marked each question with what passage it's related to, you want to go ahead and read passage 1, underline and box as before, and answer plotted questions that you've marked 1 on. So basically at this point, you've marked the questions with what passage they're related to, and you've read passage 1 and you've answered the question. So once you finish passage 1, answer all passage 1 questions, like we just said, and underline keywords and eliminate answer choices. Now before you go to passage 2, you can go ahead and go to the both questions and see, based on what you know of passage 1, what is incorrect and what's correct. And you should be able to mark a few answer choices out. Now you should read passage 2 and answer all related questions to passage 2 and leave the both questions for last. So here's some tips. We'll have approximately 11 minutes to complete them. For the new SAT, there's no guessing penalty, and you never want to leave any questions blank because you won't lose anything for answering or not answering a question. If you're having trouble deciding between answer choices, try and have what you think the answer is best in your head, and match it with what answer choice you that most closely resembles yours. And this worked especially well on the road. So when you're reading context, and then try to match it with the answer choice. If you find yourself short on time, you can scout out the passages to determine their difficulties. You can then answer them in whichever order works best for you. Don't spend more than a couple of minutes scouting and deciding. In general, there will usually be one fiction passage, a couple of non-fiction passages, and one historical document. And that's most likely to be the hardest to digest. Watch your time. Don't spend a huge amount of time on one question. You can flag the questions that give you trouble and return to it if you have time. Take many practice tests to gain a feeling of how much time you can spend on hard questions. So again, watch your time and make sure you practice to get the general idea of how long it takes to read a passage and answer questions, so you have a good amount of time to spare. Okay. So now that we've gone through the reading passages and the tips regarding what to do and how to approach a passage, we're going to go ahead and just do one passage here in the reading section, and that would be the first one. So first things first, you want to read this little excerpt here, to gain the context of what exactly the passage is about. Then, like we just said, we want to go through the questions, skim them, and you would mark the in the passage that refer to the line. So line 165, mark line 1 directly. Line 65, circle directly. Okay, let's continue looking. 4 does not have a line, so we skip. This is related to 4. You try to find the evidence. Line 6, this is again not referring to a line. So it asks for the first paragraph, so you can bracket the first paragraph, which is just right here. And then line 2, form, so we mark circle form. Line 9, or number 9, line 32, you mark 32. And keep in mind, this question specifically, it does mention a line, but you may have to read, you may not be able to get the answer choice at first without reading it through, because it also asks for evidence based at the end. Okay, so we can go ahead and attack the questions that we just marked. As in line 1 and line 65, directly and most nearly means. So first of all, we can go and read Kira can directly breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? Would she have been more receptive? And also keep in mind, I didn't only read the first sentence, I read the whole paragraph, in fact, to gain the context of directly. Akira came directly breaking out tradition. So we can look at the answer choice. This directly means frankly. Not exactly. In context, he didn't come frankly breaking out tradition, as he also asked questions here, analyzing the situation. And we can look at 65 as well. Like 65, I asked directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. So I asked frankly because the use of a go-between takes much time. That's not exactly correct. So, and keep in mind both parts here mentioning go-between. So this may be a clue to what the answer choice might be. We can look at B. Confidently. Here came confidently breaking our tradition. Was that it? He's actually questioning himself here, so it doesn't exactly seem like he's confident. So we can cross that out as well. So we're left with C and D without mediation. So as I said earlier, Kira came directly breaking our tradition, and here we go. As I said earlier, we talked about a go-between, which she had been more receptive. And over here it says, because the use of a go-between takes much time. So without mediation actually does mean to to go without mediation, as it skips a step in a certain process. So that's actually the exact definition or close to it. So C seems to be the correct answer. Well, you want to make sure that D is also incorrect or doesn't fit with precision. The cure came with precision breaking on tradition. Well, it may make sense in the context. There's nothing that specifically states how he came to the situation with precision, so you can assume that, so that's incorrect. So the answer is C without mediation, just because we found evidence with the go-between in both parts. So that is the answer. 3 is C. Now let's go to another product question, which would be 7. The main purpose of the first paragraph is to in fact, we actually read the first paragraph, having done the last question. So, Kira came directly breaking out tradition. Was that a solid form that he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, which she had been more receptive. So, it seems like he's questioning himself here on something. Not exactly sure what, but so is he describing a culture? Um, there's no descriptions that occur, so that does not seem like the correct answer. Um, so that's incorrect. B. Criticize the tradition. The word criticize is kind of harsh. There's no criticism that actually occurs in that paragraph, so you aren't able to see anything there. So that's also incorrect. And the main reason is criticize is not happening inside the text. So, C. Question a suggestion. Well, this may seem like the most correct answer because it says question a suggestion, where you do see quite a few questions asked in the first paragraph. It's also incorrect because the narrator does not question the suggestion. Rather, he is actually analyzing reaction. There's no suggestion mentioned in this paragraph, so we can assume that even though the answer choice does say question. So, in fact, he's analyzing a reaction. So the answer is D for 7. Alright, number 8. As used in line 2 form most nearly mean. So we go to line 2. Again, this is in the first paragraph. So had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between. So first things first, you want to think of a word that fits with form in your mind that works here. So was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father? Um, in this case, I would think of form in my head as like um, more of a process or a procedure that would most likely fit here. So in my mind, I already have a definition. So you would look at the answer choice and does an appearance sound like or seem like a process or procedure? No, it doesn't. So cross it out. Custom, is that what it's, a process or procedure is? Relating to the tradition that's mentioned above, yes, indeed, the custom is actually quite similar to a process or procedure that is followed in a culture. So that is actually the correct answer. But we have to look at the other answer first just to make sure. Structure is kind of similar to a process, but not really. So that we would cross out A and D. The nature is not exactly what we're looking for. So A and D would be incorrect, and then we go to B and C. But custom is more similar to a process or procedure, especially with a tradition. So that is the correct answer. B. Okay. So number 9. Why does the cure say his meeting with she is a matter of urgency? We go to line 32. Now, like I mentioned before, you want to read above and below to find to get the context of the question, but you also have to read most likely the paragraph that's mentioned in, as this is a narrative story, so it's probably asking for certain content, and it's pretty easy to find if you just read around this area. Okay, 32. Madam said Akira, forgive my disruption, but I come with a matter of urgency. His voice was okay. So first of all, we want to find what this matter of urgency is. So I'm gonna read down. We'll just skim it. Let's see. I don't want to trouble you. This is referring to the matter of urgency. So normally I would approach you more properly, but I've received word of a position. I have an opportunity to go to America as a dentist for Seattle's Japanese community. So this is actually what he's referring to up here as matter of urgency. When he talks, you can just skim it, and you can see that this is what we're looking for because he doesn't want trouble with the matter of urgency. So, line 32. So why does your city is meeting with Cheese the matter of urgency? So he fears that his own parents will disapprove Naomi. That's not right. He worries that Naomi will reject and marry someone else. That's incorrect as well. He's been offered an attractive job in another country. That's exactly what we just read. Something about the Japanese community, the densest Japanese community. So it's just C. This is more of a straightforward question on just the reading in context. So answer C for number 9. And number 10 should be you should be able to do that as well because it's actually evidence based. So you just have to find the line that supports the answer. And we actually did that earlier, which is line 41, 42, right here. So we'll look for an truth with lines 41 and 42 in it, and what do you know? B has that, so the answer is B. Number 10 is B. Number 9 is C. And this is, we answered these questions quite easily by just skimming around the lines given. So now we finished all the line-based questions. We should go ahead and read the entire passage, and you should be able to have a general idea, but not exactly, just because this is a narrative passage, so you can't really understand based on little chunks, and you have to read as a whole. So if you guys want to read this, I can leave the screen here, and you guys can pause it, or you can pull it up on College Board um, with another tab. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave this here for a few seconds, and then I'll scroll down so you guys can read it and just pause the video. Okay. So here you go. So now that you've read the passage, which choice best describes what happened in the passage? So we'll see here. Look at number 1. One character argues with another character who intrudes on her home. The word here intrudes is a little harsh, and that's not exactly what happens. He actually just visits, he doesn't really intrude, and he's pretty polite about it. So A is incorrect because of the word intrudes. As I said, one word can make the whole answer choice incorrect. B, one character receives a surprising request from another character. Um, a request doesn't in fact happen, and is between Akira and Chi. So this is not this is correct, and there's nothing wrong about the sentence, so we can keep that there. One character reminisces about choices she has made over the years. This is incorrect because the passage is focused more on the idea of Akira's and Naomi's present lives rather than the future. So this may be correct, but not exactly the whole, not exactly what happens during the whole passage. One character criticizes another character for pursuing an unexpected course of action. Um, Nothing really critical here or criticizing, as he was more polite. So the one that's the least incorrect would be B, which does happen. Um, one character receives a surprising request from another character. Okay, number two. Which choice best describes the developmental pattern of the passage? So after reading the passage as a whole, you should be able to get the general gist of this passage. A careful analysis of the traditional practice. This is actually the opposite of what we're looking for because this is not a traditional practice. In fact, it's the opposite, as this marriage proposal is not following tradition. B, a detailed depiction of a meaningful encounter. Um, this is a depiction, and it also is a encounter that is meaningful. So we we can't cross this out yet, and it seems like the correct answer. A definitive response to a series of questions. This question is actually kind of trick you, or this answer choice, because assuming that you've only read the first paragraph, you may think that the questions um solely on the first paragraph, you're just trying to answer questions for the rest of the passage. This is not the case, so C is incorrect. And a D, a cheerful recounting of an amusing anecdote. This really isn't an amusing anecdote. It's not humorous. It's more of a serious and pretty meaningful one. So the answer is B. What makes this question is Trish incorrect in the meaning? Number two is B. A detailed depiction of a meaningful encounter. We've answered three. Now we can answer four. Which reaction does Akira most fear from Shi? Okay, A. She will consider his proposal inappropriate. Um, this does is actually implied when you go to line 65. As we read earlier, I asked directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. Um, and if you read a little bit above that, which you should have read when going through the passage, if you have an understanding, please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I asked directly because of a go-between. So, um, what reaction does Kira most fear? So, as I said earlier, he doesn't want her to judge him based on his candidacy. So she will consider his proposal inappropriate. So that's exactly what he's fearing or assuming she might do. So that seems like it's correct. So she'll mistake his earnestness for immaturity. Um, he is being quite earnest, but we can't assume that immaturity is the word here, so that's incorrect. Um, so choice C, she will consider his unscheduled visit an imposition. Um, This is not correct because Akira recognizes that this unscheduled visit is a nuisance, but the large concern is that she will reject him due to his inappropriateness of his proposal. And then D, she will underestimate the sincerity of his emotions. There's nothing about his emotions here, so this may be an answer you might pick based on your opinion, but this is not correct because it's not said in the text. So the answer is A. So now we have to find evidence of where he she will consider his proposal inappropriate. And as I said earlier, if you read the passage, it's actually here on 63, 64, specifically where he says, "Please don't judge my candidacy." So answer is C on 63, 64. Okay, we've answered. Okay, number 6. In the passage, Akira addresses Chi with, all right. See, affection, but not genuine love. We don't see any feelings here, so they're described in the passage between these two, so you can't really assume anything. So that's not exactly correct. And B, objectivity, but not complete impartiality. This is also doesn't seem correct because there was neither objectivity nor impartiality that is accurately described in Akira's attitude toward Chi. C, amusing but not mocking disparagement. There's nothing amusing or mocking about their encounter. It was more of a polite encounter, respectful, and you can see that through a few points here. I see bowing is a sign of respect. 31. In 31, he says, "Madam," which is also a proper way to greet someone. So it seems that it's more respectful, but not utter deference. So the answer is D, because we found some textual evidence based on being respectful and not utterly deferent. We've answered actually 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we've actually completed the passage now. So that's basically how you run through a single passage in the reading section. Make sure you don't spend too much time on the question, and if you do, then just circle the question and move on. And hopefully you have time to get back to that question. So we've run through all the tips for a single passage and a few special tips for the double passage, and we've also did a practice passage. So if there are any questions, you can go ahead and type it into the Skybound Prep chat. See here. Okay, if there are no questions, then I can go ahead and end the stream. Okay, in that case, there are no questions, so thank you.